Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Karen, and I am sharing with you the final journal in my Soirée collection for 2022. Journal number 5 in this series. And I'm kind of sad that it's coming to a close, but I am very glad that I can move on to something new and different. Super feminine, very frilly, ruffly, and romantic and charming. I believe you'll really like it. We've got our layered wrap skirt closure. And this journal I have named Chai. I chose tea names, not just for their names, but for their healing abilities and for how much I like them or my family likes them. We all love to drink tea. This one has 76 pages for writing on and about 42 pieces of ephemera and journaling cards. I've included a sweet little vintage pin. Isn't that adorable with a big pearl on it? This can be swapped out if the recipient would rather have a stick pin or a different piece of vintage jewelry. I'm fine with that. I have several to choose from. So I have used mostly vintage and antique collars for adorning these wrap skirts because they just have a nice flop to them. They're curved, of course, when you lay them out flat, but as soon as you form them into a straight line, they just have enough flounce to them that created exactly what I wanted to show you or share with you. We've got some vintage buttons, of course, down the spine and on the tag toppers, and this gorgeous, gorgeous piece. I just absolutely love it. So I have done a tutorial as well on how I do the wrap skirts. If you're at all interested, you can go check that out. The sari silk tie closures are also attached, so the skirt is completely removable and will take away all the bulk when you are actually ready to write in your journal. Lots of fluff with these. I'm going to show you the skirts separately. This one has, of course, the support band, and I attached or sewed the sari silk ties to the back side of the skirt. And then I've just got layers and layers of beautiful vintage lace. 4 or 5 pieces on this one, 5. And I didn't want to add any other trim in here. I just wanted the focus to be on that sweet little ruffle. And of course the brooch, the vintage brooch. So that is the skirt. I am going to place it over here and we can look at the journal a little more closely. One of these little booklets that I've made with embroidery floss and beautiful delicate beads. I paper punched these and threaded some crinkled seam binding through there. Attached the vintage buttons, as I've said, and the pages inside are just tea-dyed miscellaneous and some die cuts just for extra writing space, but I really love the Victorian lady images that were on the front of these. Just so very fun to make. Beautiful vintage fabric, lots and lots of vintage lace. The vintage buttons down the spine, which I love to do, and I love to do different ones. I don't like to do them all the same. It's just so fun to decide which embellishments to use, as well as, of course, the beads and the charms. That's just my thing. And I've made sure that I put placement for this beautiful flower on the back so that you could see it. Pink and mauve and green and ivory. Just so very beautiful. All right, little Miss Chai, let's have a look inside. So the edges are serged, and then I attach the fabric to Craftex, add the paper on the inside covers, and for this whole series I use Stamperia, various Stamperia papers. Beautiful crocheted trim, probably from the edge of a pillowcase or a tablecloth, and that whole serves as pockets. So here's our tea bag chai. I've included one for each journal with their signature names. I've got a couple of tags here that I've made. This is vintage wallpaper with a beautiful applique. And, you know, the funny thing was I thought I had two like this, and I couldn't find it. I finished everything last night, and I was tidying up a bit, and I found the other one. I thought, oh, well, next time. Of course, that happens to all of us. I've used a scallop circle paper punch, folded it over, used embossed gold metallic paper, some beautiful antique French gold lace for the tag topper, and a sweet little image stamped on the back with a rose. This tag is an adorable little girl. I just love her. And the applique embellishment, tag topper, and beautiful stamping of a rose. And then I've got a card, a vintage postcard for the recipient. She can take that off and replace it and use it wherever she would like. I try to include at least one vintage postcard in every journal that I create. And did I say how many pages? I think I did, yeah, 76. So pearl edged lace trim. Gorgeous vintage textile here. As I said previously, I believe this is a coaster, because there are about, I think I had about 6 or 7 of these. And this beautiful applique. I got these, and I think they're like a miniature collar or something, but I love the curve to them. I love curves and scallops. That's just my style. I like that in my decorating for my home. I'm not a modernist. I don't like contemporary. I appreciate it, but my style is definitely vintage and more romantic. This is vintage wallpaper. I added some texture paste stenciling, some embossing to the metallic paper, topped off with this beautiful vintage fabric, and stamped on the back with those beautiful roses. Some small journaling cards stamped on the back with Eat Cake and Herbal Brewage. And here we go. Tea Soirée. Teapot fussy cut image, and a tea-dyed paper doily underneath with another vintage wallpaper tag. Beautiful applique trim, vintage sheet music, and this is antique satin ribbon. Just beautiful. That color was so perfect. Stamped on the back. A short flat page with some beautiful antique lace. Tuck spot here where I have included some pieces of ephemera. Stamped on the back with teapots and teacups. Some vintage, I think that's Emily Dickinson poetry. Where's the sonnet? So, maybe it's Shakespeare. I should always have these things written down, but I never seem to. And the story begins, tiny little pocket, and some stamping on the back. Lined journaling paper, a journaling card made out of Edith Holden book page, and some crinkled seam binding with vintage pearl shank buttons on the side, and backed onto parchment paper. So very sturdy for writing. Gorgeous Royal Albert porcelain china in this digital image, and her blue gown, just so very beautiful. I've included a die-cut teacup and spoon. Some beautiful vintage eyelet cotton lace with the insert strip, and I have added some crinkled seam binding in that soft pink color. And I have made a pocket here with some beautiful rose-colored, soft rose, blush, whatever, lace on the side. A booklet that I've added, just some extra papers for journaling, some die cuts, some of the rose gold avocado dyed paper, stamped with one of Lorna Taylor's stamp, Boulangerie, and beautiful digital images. if I didn't already say it in this video, all of the digital kits that I've used will be listed in the description below. Die cut teapot, some vintage lace to reinforce this book page, die cut teacup again with a spoon, and I used some sari silk to reinforce it. I was finding that I was using washi tape to reinforce it, and it was almost impossible to sew through. This works beautifully. The sari silk is so fine, and if I have to do it again, that's what I will use for sure. Some vintage sheet music with some beautiful vintage lace in the pink. A large tag using some decoupaged tissue paper, antique French lace, vintage lace, pearls, tea-dyed cupro for the tag topper, and backed onto mixed media paper stamped on the back with a rose. Some extra pieces of ephemera for writing. I've got a vintage handkerchief folded and made into a tuck spot or a pocket. One of Nikki's appliques and a vintage button that I've stitched on there. Some extra journaling with these pieces, the perfect blend, and a cupcake, because you have to have sweets with your tea. Absolutely. Tea is the answer to most problems. Beautiful lace. Tried to coordinate the page layouts wherever possible. And a beautiful piece of ephemera. Avocado dyed rose gold metallic paper. And this is pink parchment paper that I've just added a long tag and a piece of ephemera. It says botanical tea. I have to say, I had decided it was going to go the other way. So I stamped that end of it. And then once I punched the hole in it, I turned around and went, uh-oh, that happens. And I left these pieces very long because they're original. And it's just so soft and beautiful. I just absolutely love that gorgeous French lace. Some vellum paper of roses. Coordinates so beautifully with this project. Got a tag made out of vintage wallpaper, antique French gold lace as the topper, a beautiful applique, and a sweet image of a little girl. This is an authentic piece of ephemera in a little notebook that I purchased at a vintage market. The recipes are for sour cream drop cakes and delicious ginger cake. Doesn't that sound yummy? Some beautiful vintage lace and vintage pink eyelet cotton down the side. A journaling card from Stamperia's Sweetie collection. And those all just tuck nicely in here. A crocheted mini doily. Part of a tablecloth or a runner that I would just cut apart and use all these little pieces individually. I've attached a brass teacup charm to the side edge here. And we've got our veiled lace page with the Chantilly Galloon lace eyelash trim edge onto vintage sheet music. A journaling card made out of the planner paper, tea-dyed, of course, vintage lace, vintage trim, crinkled seam binding, and some cute little pink buttons. And just a little piece of ephemera for extra journaling space. You can add more to this journal, of course, if you want. Sometimes when the lace flaps up, I just do like that to even it out so it doesn't get bent. And some beautiful vintage lace trim. Got an envelope here for some extra journaling space stamped at the bottom. And a journaling card, all in the same color tones. Some lined journaling paper on this side. And we've got the center of our signature with a Battenberg lace doily that is in this gorgeous shade of ecru. I've got the strings with beads and charms that I so love to do, put together. I love this giant rose. I could have used one in each journal, but I guess I just did this one. And if you don't like that sort of thing, you can always just cut them off and use them elsewhere. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. A tall skinny tag. Well, not too tall actually, but just a skinny tag. And I did something different with the sheet music page. I decided to just fold it in half there, add a little tiny die cup of a teacup, and you can tuck something inside if you like. There's another tall skinny tag made out of some decoupage napkin stamped on the back, and some beautiful vintage fabric at the top. Got a crochet doily and a beautiful colored applique from Nikki, who is Ravioli Dreams book page, or Shakespeare, whatever. A fussy cut teacup and spoon, a small tea bag that you can add anything to in this little envelope. Vintage lace on the side. And some gorgeous vellum paper with roses, colorful roses, parchment paper, and I've added the word tea fussy cut up here. Just a plain tall tag for lots of extra journaling space. The avocado dyed rose gold metallic paper, a blush colored crocheted rose applique, vintage of course, and I love this lace. I'm so glad I got to use it in each one of the journals. Absolutely beautiful. Another journaling card. Lots of writing space available on the back, and some pretty larger pearl vintage buttons. Oh, I just love them. They're just so sweet. I always think I have so many, and then I make a collection like this and I'm wiped out of a certain color. So of course I had to go try and find some more pink ones, which I love doing. Collecting is part of the fun of it, right? Some stacked teacups here. This is the China Fragments stamp collection from Heartfelt Creations from a long time ago. Fussy cut rose, and some extra tags and journaling cards stamped on the back. A cup of tea warms the soul like a good friend, and a teacup for extra journaling space. Beautiful vintage lace with the roses trim. A pocket made out of a fussy cut teapot and a gorgeous fussy cut flower. Beautiful applique on this side, and I love these images in the sepia and the black and the white of tea parties, various tea parties, stamped on the back with patisserie, and the Staffordshire teacup. Lots of room to add extra pieces if you would like to. Things that are special to you. The book page, and some extra reinforcing of this page with the lace, vintage lace, tea-dyed. Here's another tuck spot. I didn't include anything in here, but you certainly could. And this pocket or tuck spot has a tall tag, large tag, made out of vintage wallpaper in that beautiful aqua color with the gold sparkles in it. Some vintage sheet music, tea-dyed applique stamped on the back with magnolia. And this one is stamped on the back with the sentiment Bon Appetit, a sweet little girl having a tea party with her kitty cat. And this pocket with the beautiful vintage lace trim, I've attached a antique brass teapot charm on the side. Another decoupage tag with napkins. The image on it, the napkin is actually tulips, but I thought the colors were perfect with that beautiful rose image. Some vintage lace and pearls, some tea-dyed cupro stamped on the back with a rose, and some beautiful vintage lace here in the white with the satin ribbon laced through the insert on the side. You are beautiful. some ephemera pieces stamped on the back. Botanical tea. And I've attached it with a tiny, teeny, tiny little Tim Holtz bulldog clip. My gosh, these things are so teeny. And so cute. A line journaling page with a teacup die cut on the left. And this is a tuck spot. You can add something there if you would like to the book page. I've just got a little tiny belly band on this flat page with a fussy cut flower of the rose. And this little pocket is a bright pink crocheted doily with a vintage applique. I've got a few tags. I've got my business card. And these are topped with vintage lace, the crinkled seam bindings, some die cuts, some stamping on the back, and beautiful rose images. And this is the last page in this journal. Here we have a vintage envelope from 1940 that you could tuck something inside if you like. And a couple of tags stamped on the back with a mademoiselle serving tea. And this sweet little image of children at play outside having tea. The best things in life are sweet. In the back pocket, I have included another small booklet and 2 photographs of my daughter's bridal shower. We actually had a high tea for her wedding shower. And that was the food we served and just some of the decorations to just help inspire the new recipient of making her own memories. And those can, of course, be replaced with personal pictures if she would like. Gorgeous images on these booklets and the papers. I love the papers. They're all tea dyed. And some die cut images of small teacups and antique lace. So that is, this one is, did I say oolong? No, chai. This one is chai. Yep. That's it. I hope you like this sweet little journal, and I hope you enjoyed the series. Thank you so much for watching and for sharing the love of tea with me. It never goes out of style, and it's always the best thing to serve. There's her sweet little wrap skirt. I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future. Thanks for watching.